Hi there, Dave with Crandall Office, and today we're going to be talking about the Steelcase Leap chair, specifically looking a little bit closer at the differences between a version 1 and a version 2 chair, how to identify your chair, and taking a closer look at some of the version 1 variations that we've seen over the years. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is going to be a version 1 and a version 2 Leap chair side by side. We're just going to be going over some of the visual differences and how to make sure that you've got yourself a version 2 if you do have a version 2. Some of the major distinguishing characteristics of the version 2 chair are going to be this arm pad. The style of the arm pad is a little bit thinner, a little bit sleeker. The actual arm assembly is also going to be plastic. It's going to be the 4D arms that slide inward and outward and front to back. Whereas the arms on the version 1 chair are a little bit more rounded here. They're a little bit thicker, and this is mainly a metal assembly here that you're going to see for the raising and lowering of the arm. And they also only go in and out. They don't have the front to back slide. That's going to be the quickest and easiest way to identify whether or not you have a version 2. These arms are unique to the version 2 in the Leap chair lineup. You will see also that the back on the version 2 is a little bit more straight and upright, whereas the version 1, and this is a standard height version 1, has this rollover top back. And so you can see that there's a difference in back shape. We are going to be taking a look at a couple different variations of the version 1 chair that have a more similar back to the version 2. That might be a little bit confusing, which is why we really wanted to point out the arms as being a very distinguishing factor in being able to identify a version 2. The other major one that's going to be a quick identification is going to be the shape of the base. You can see that this base on the version 2 comes up a little bit more to a point, whereas the version 1 base is going to be, it's actually a metal base with a plastic shell over it, and it's a little bit more flat. The version 2 is all plastic, but it does have a little bit more sleek design to it as well. So next, let's take a look at the version 1 standard and Highback side by side. You can see they're very similar looking chairs. The only major difference that you're going to see between the standard back on the V1 and the Highback is going to be the shape and the actual back pad of the chair. So you can see that the version 1 Highback is much more upright, similar to the V2 chair, whereas the version 1 does have this rollover style back. As you can see, they both do have the same arm mechanisms, so it's going to be the metal arm mechanism, same pivot arm pads. So very similar chairs. We do see, I did want to point out that there is two different styles of this frame component on the version 1 chair. This is what we call the ribbon back, and this is what we call the arch back, just due to their shapes. One's not better than the other, but they did offer both varieties on both the standard and high back of the Leap chair. We see them both quite a bit, so you'll see both of those available from us. So we did want to take a look at some of the less common varieties of the Leap chair that we do see. We really don't work on this style too often, but we do see them enough that we did want to identify it so that we could help you guys identify these chairs. This is the first one, and this is what we call the pillow style. And this actually has a back pad that slides over the back side of the back here, and so it actually slides over, and instead of actually attaching to the back of the chair with the clips like a standard chair pad does on a version 1, it just folds over the back, still attaches at the bottom the same way. It's a much thinner pad, as you can see, so I'm going to pull this off of here really quick. You can just see how thin and kind of floppy this is. It's got much less padding. It's also very prone to wrinkling here. We really don't work with these all that often for those reasons. And so the other reason is going to be the seat pad. And again, the seat pad, this is a much thinner pad than a standard version 1 Leap chair. You can see I can pull it off, and it's actually held on with snaps. So it's actually comes right off, and you can see just how thin that pad is. Also a different seat pan. Again, we really don't work with these that often, but we do see them pretty frequently, and we're asked about upholstery on these chairs quite often. We are not currently offering upholstery on this style just because it is so unique and we really don't see them that often. The next that we're going to be taking a look at is this is a coach edition Leap chair, and why I want to highlight this one is actually because of the arm mechanism. It has the same metal arm mechanism that a standard version 1 does, and it actually pivots in and out the same, but as you can see, this arm pad is a much different shape. You can actually see through the sides. We call it a hollow arm pad. These arm pads are notoriously difficult to get a hold of, and they're very expensive when you do. We want to point that out because if you do come across one of these chairs and you see these arm pads, we typically tell people to stay away because these do tend to fail and they're very difficult to replace when they do. So that's a closer look at a couple of the more unique ones. Again, don't see them that often, but we did want to touch on these. All right, so one of the primary questions we do get in identifying Leap chairs is whether or not your chair is a version 2 or not. We do see a lot of people thinking that they have a version 2 chair because they have this more upright back that you see on these couple different version 1 variations, whereas these are actually version 1 chairs. And that's why we've been telling you to identify primarily with the arm mechanism and being the metal arm mechanism with the different arm pad. Where this is a version 2 chair, you can see it's a much different mechanism. It's all plastic, like we've mentioned before, but they all have a very similar upright back, so between these. And so if you see one of these, especially with the wrapped over fabric, it's not going to be a version 2 chair. This is going to come the closest, the version 1 high back, but again, the arms are different. Everything else is the same as a version 1, so it's not a version 1 either. This is going to be the only version 2 that we see here. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons below. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us on our website, crandalloffice.com, our Facebook page, anywhere you can reach us. We're always here to help. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hi there, Dave with Crandall Office, and today we're going to be talking over the some confusion. No, sorry. You might be quite no. What's how do I get into that? Yeah, you might want to take a seat. This might be a while. Some of the versions, so a couple of the different going over. So okay, between the so. Going to talk about how to identify. You can cut this. This is all terrible.